I saw a tweet recently that listed out every major console since the NES with the number of games released on each one. I always knew, of course, that the N64 famously had a small game library, but it was still quite striking to see in black and white how distantly in last place it was in terms of pure numbers. It had about a third of the games of the Sega Saturn, which barely even exists in my mind. I don't know a single person who had one. It had under 10% of the number of games released on its biggest rival, the PlayStation. The next smallest library was the NES itself, which had over 300 more games put out in its lifespan. And yet 25 years on, the N64 retains an almost mythical status among people of a certain age. I know there are plenty of people who are passionate about the Dreamcast, PS1 and other consoles of the era, and perhaps this is just a huge case of confirmation bias at work, but it feels like the N64 has uniquely transcended fond memories or nostalgia, and has lived on having become a small part of the people who experienced it, and I've been thinking a lot about why that is. Here's the top 5 factors to me that gave the N64 its evergreen legacy. Number 5. Innovation. Nintendo have cultivated a reputation for innovative design and introducing new features to the gaming landscape. Sony and Microsoft both saw the need to mimic the Wii's motion control technology as soon as that came out, and Nintendo pushed the boat out again with the Switch by creating a console that was as practical and enjoyable on the move as it was played through the TV. Back in 1996, everything about the N64 seemed shiny and new, and it seemed to constantly be stretching the limits of what was possible. Features like the Rumble Pack, 360-degree cameras and analog sticks, all of which are now not just standard but completely banal, were either debuted or popularised on the N64. As well as the technical innovation, it was a breeding ground for brand new types of games. Mario Party was a totally new concept but was instantly copied, and these types of games are now standard additions to any console, while games like Pokemon Snap were redefining what games even could be. Add to that the widespread introduction of huge 3D adventures where players were given freedom like never before to explore sprawling worlds, and it's easy to see why having an N64 felt like more than just having a games console. It felt like you were peering into the future, and in some ways you were. Number 4. The Underdog Effect. It is a bit weird thinking of Nintendo as the underdog in the gaming world, especially in the 90s when they were the established, successful company and Sony were the new kids on the block. But it quickly became true due to the PlayStation's rapid success. Everyone likes that feeling of being in on something a little bit secret that not everyone appreciated the brilliance of. The N64's small game library that I mentioned at the start was the subject of derision at the time, and I remember that being a key point in the console war of the late 90s, with my PlayStation owning friends finding great pleasure in the huge range of games available to them by comparison. Not coincidentally, the PlayStation outsold the N64 about 3-1 globally. Much like an unsuccessful but beloved TV show, cancelled before it reached its full potential, the N64 had and has something of a cult status which has created passionate and long-lasting fans still ready and willing to defend its honour. As strange as it seems, being an N64 owner felt a little bit counterculture, like you were the gaming purist, unconcerned with giving off the appearance of maturity by opting for the more adult console. If playing Banjo and Diddy Kong Racing rather than Tomb Raider and Gran Turismo made you uncool, then damn it, you were happy to be uncool. But who's uncool now? Oh. Number 3. Rare. Totally deserving of their own place in this list, I can't think of any other console before or since with one third-party, or technically second-party, developer so integral to its identity than Rare was to the Nintendo 64. 4 of the top 10 best-selling games on the console came out of the East Midlands, and it's not overstating things to say that they're all absolutely iconic. Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye and Donkey Kong 64 would be an incredible lineup for any console, and in addition to those bestsellers, Rare also put out Conker's Bad Fur Day, Banjo-Tooie, Jet Force Gemini, Killer Instinct Gold and Perfect Dark, an astounding output for a relatively small studio at the time. Now long since owned by Microsoft, Rare have nevertheless continued to acknowledge and celebrate their Nintendo-based past by re-releasing and continuing to promote their 90s games, giving a new lease on life to their N64 titles. A long-awaited sequel to Perfect Dark has now been confirmed, and it'd be great to see the original attract more attention as a result. One of the main reasons bringing N64 games to Switch Online could end up feeling a bit lackluster is because it would presumably be difficult, if not impossible, to include several of Rare's games in this lineup, which would cut out so many beloved memories from that time. Though with Banjo-Kazooie now included within Smash, who knows what's possible in the future. Number 2. Multiplayer. Local multiplayer has become a virtually forgotten aspect of the gaming landscape nowadays, but people of my generation will swear blind that human happiness reached its peak when you and your friends would crowd around a tiny TV, each armed with a controller, and play GoldenEye, Mario Kart, Smash, WWF No Mercy, or Mario Party long into the night. I love the convenience of being able to play games online with friends, but there really was something uniquely brilliant about being able to laugh, cry, and mercilessly taunt one another in the same room as you smashed them with a red shell, planted a craftily concealed proximity mine, or hit your finisher on your opponent with them sitting right next to you. The N64 was the first console to be designed with 4-player games in mind, and almost everyone who owned that console will have fond memories. I was still hosting occasional N64 multiplayer nights well into my 20s, some 15 years after the end of the console's lifespan. No other console has ever been able to replicate local play to such a standard since, and it's a huge part of why the N64 is held in such high regard. It wasn't just entertainment, it was social bonding, it was the currency of friendship. Grab some Doritos, Pepsi and a large pizza and call up your friends. This is a tradition well worth resurrecting. Number 1. The games. The biggest reason by far is really the simplest answer. The games are still amazing to play. Take a look at the 20 bestsellers on the console and they are all still well worth playing, and in some cases are still among the best games in their genre. Star Fox 64 is to me completely ageless. I don't think there's been a better game of its type since. And while Mario 64 has its detractors, it's still so fun to pick up even for someone like me who's played through it several times. The same goes for Banjo, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye and many others. The feeling of flying around an open area with Mario's wing cap, galloping across Hyrule Field or dropping into the toilet in Facility just like Pierce Brosnan did in the film, are etched onto the memories of millions of players and seemingly will be forever. For a library of under 400 games, the number of incredible, genre-defining titles is staggering. These games laid down the blueprints for what almost all games were going to look like for years to come and are still described favourably even when compared to their more sophisticated modern equivalents. All consoles, and indeed almost all games, have the potential to inspire nostalgia in those who grew up playing them, even bad games. But has there ever been a lineup like this that was so significant in defining what games were going to be, or one that has burrowed deep into people's personalities the way the N64 did? I fully admit that part of this is just my own experience, and also that the N64 hit the sweet spot of being my console between the crucial ages of 10 and 14. Maybe there are those that feel this way about the PS1, but I really don't feel like I've ever heard it. I definitely haven't heard it proportionately considering the sales of the two consoles. I've heard people speak about Crash Bandicoot and Spyro in similar tones to the way I might talk about Mario 64 for sure, and I'm not here to talk them down either, but there still seems to me to be a really nebulous magic unique to the N64. I wonder what the future holds and if 25 years from now I'll still be yearning to be transported back to the 90s just by hearing this sound.
It's me, Mario!
Did I miss anything? What other factors do you think have enhanced the N64's legacy and what does it mean to you all these years later? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks all very much for watching, I hope you enjoyed that. I just want to say a couple of quick shout outs. Firstly to the N64 Archive, which provided the vast majority of the footage that you've seen in this video. Thanks for making my life a whole lot easier. And secondly to Gab Ocarina 96, who provided the excellent cover of the Mario 64 credits, which you can hear in the background right now. Both great channels and I highly recommend going and checking them out. Thanks again for watching, see you again soon.